Please support the journey. We're on Venmo at BL Comedy, and we are on Cash App at $Big Laugh Comedy. All the proceeds go to comedians and production crew. Keep us alive, keep us going, keep the journey going, keep wandering. Thank you, guys. All right, guys, welcome to Journey and Wander, episode 4. Journey and Wander, this is a show where we get to delve into people's motivations. I try to get people to generalize the meaning of their existence, and we discuss the products and inspiration of that. I am your host, the guy that tries to pretend I'm as sober as the premise of the show sounds, Cole Robeson. And today we get to be talking to Amanda Lynn Deal. Last week we talked to Rochelle Cochran, and she unfortunately was not able to make it back to do the co-host spot, which is understandable. She was we had to squeeze her in with a last minute dropout. So this week it's just me and the guest, and this is also somebody that wasn't initially in the lineup, but after a dropout, we put her in. Actually, this spot was originally Rochelle Cochran's spot. But Rochelle Cochran had some nice things to say about Amanda, and even though it wasn't, quite her pick, but this is a name I've heard a lot around the Oregon scene, and seems to be a very well-respected person, and I can't wait to get into them. So let's just jump right into it. Amanda Lynn Deal, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm not gonna lie, quarantine's been good for me. I've been enjoying the break from constantly doing comedy and hosting, and I just get to chill with my dog, and I do food delivery, which is mostly me listening to music and laughing at myself and talking to employees at restaurants. Since I'm in the industry, that's great because customer service fucking sucks. So I'm actually kind of doing a lot better than I thought. I was homeschooled, so maybe that's why I'm just like, this is fine. I know how to entertain myself.
Yeah. That I said this last week, but I really appreciated quarantine because it was a break. I wouldn't have taken this break on my own, but I'm glad that I had it. I compared it to getting a Roomba for Christmas. I would never buy it myself, but I'm glad I got it. It's cool. It's convenient.
I like the Roomba analogy. I get that. Yeah, I totally feel the same way because I was hosting 2 mics and 1 show every weekly. So 3 things.
Oh, damn.
And then, performing and bartending and babysitting. And yeah, I just never would have taken a break, even though I needed it, because when you I've been doing comedy since 2012. So I guess almost a decade. So enough time to be like, well, I can't quit now. I've gone this far, and the whole grind. And I enjoyed what I was doing, but if I ever took a break, I couldn't relax because I'd be thinking about all the stuff I should be doing or other people getting farther than me. And so now it's like everybody's at the same level, we're all in the same boat. So it's like, oh, well, okay, this is nice.
Yeah. Burning the candle at both ends, finding new ends and burning those too. I had the same problem. And that's why I'm glad I got to I did absolutely nothing the entire, maybe first 3 months, not a single thing. And it felt awesome. Yeah. And then it started but then I went back to work, and that felt great too. And now I'm starting shows again, and that's I don't know, life is good. I needed that break. Now I get to go in with kind of a clear head.
Totally. Yeah.
But before we jump into it, do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh boy. I'm actually supposed to be doing a couple radio shows coming up here. I'm getting more information on them. I don't have enough to really give you the details right now, so that's not very helpful. But people who follow me on social media, mostly Facebook, but I have Twitter, Instagram. It's just at Amanda Lynn Deal on all the platforms. I'll be posting some stuff on there pretty soon about being a co-host on some radio shows here. So that'll be nice. That'll be a creative thing for me to do. Yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, I'm just kind of living my life.
All right. Yeah, and sorry I interrupted you there. It's Zoom is difficult, and I'm also kind of an asshole. But what were you saying there?
Oh, I was saying, I was about to jump into something and be like, yeah, I mean, this quarantine's great. I even got COVID, which sucked, but otherwise it's been great. I wouldn't recommend. Well, I got COVID from the bar that I worked at, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Oh damn.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't recommend the bar. COVID was fine. I survived. The bar sucked. There.
As
Um,
a,
uh,
my
yeah.
my the only have you been writing any COVID material, because that's been something controversial amongst comedians, I feel like, and I don't know why. I like I don't know.
Um, well, I've been writing it because I got it and I already had material about how that working at that bar sucked. It was just like a shitty dive bar in Vancouver. So I kind of go into, getting it and like what happened and stuff like that. And it's been funny for me and like therapeutic to laugh about it. Cause even when I went back to work there, I was just looking around like me and my best friend worked together. We both were like, we're gonna get COVID here. Like it's gonna happen. This is
Oh
the place
yeah.
that's and we did. It was like an outbreak on the news and everything. So yeah, it was definitely something that was almost inevitable. I guess the only reason it's controversial is people like whether it's comedy or people trying to like talk about it, as in people are like misinformed and they treat it
Right.
like it's not. Because I didn't die from it, I survived, but I have like shitty after effects that could last my whole life. I don't know what other complications are going to come from it, so it's not like just a flu. So I
Yeah.
laugh about it, but I still have, like crazy, weird, unexplained pain that is part of it afterwards. Shit that sucks that no one should want or have or
Right.
pretend like fine, I'm young. I'm like, yeah, well, I was the healthiest I've ever been and it fucked me. So, I guess it's like a little touchy because, yes, we should be able to joke about everything. But if people are like, it's bullshit, do whatever you want, I'm going to cough on a microphone. It's like, well, fuck you, dude. Like, that's not funny. But there's always some asshole who's like going to do that shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a for me, the way I see it, and that's a good Alec. The way I see it is, I've only seen other comics say, "Don't talk." People don't want COVID material. It's going to be hack or whatever. But then you go online, and every meme is about COVID or just what's happening now. Like I feel like people really want it, and also my whole thing too is a shitty comic doing a shitty bit about COVID any worse than a shitty comic doing a shitty bit about anything else? Like
Yeah.
at some point, it's like I don't know. I it's not like I've tried to write things, but I kind of thought of things where I'm like, oh, that might be funny, and I just do it. But I don't know. I don't put any opinions in my jokes either, so it's kind of makes it a little easier.
Yeah, I think like there's room for, people to talk about it like comedy wise or like one-liners, I think. I guess it's like when people come at it at a point of like being misinformed or being like heartless about it, that's just like, all right, well that's not just because there's so many dumb people talking shit about it anyways. That to me is frustrating, but I mean if a joke's funny, it's gonna work. And if it's not, you're just gonna stand there and look like an asshole. So that's how you
Right.
do comedy. You just
Yeah,
try it.
yeah. I mean, one of my my favorite joke that I came up with was, man, during quarantine, I loved quarantine. It was awesome. I did whatever I wanted when I wanted. The day was mine. But now they're reopening things. I feel like I got to go back to work. I got to start comedy again. I feel obligated to hang out with my friends. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like they're taking my freedoms away.
No, that's good. I like that. I feel like it turned me into such an introvert, and I don't know. I like was always out, and like wanted to be around people, and now I'm like I kind of just like want to stay at home. Like I don't like a small group of friends. To me, it was more revealing of like, oh, maybe I actually didn't like people as much as I did. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
like a lot of my stress around so many people all the time, like that was just a lot. And I'm like a huge empath, so I think just being stuck with my own problems, which sucks, but it's kind of nice because I'm like, oh, I think I was carrying a lot of things that aren't even my shit anyways. I was just like concerned about everyone else around me all the time. Now I'm
Right.
like, well, you guys are alive, Good.
Yeah.
Cool. See
I
you
was
later.
I was becoming I was starting to become a social butterfly, and then it all hit, and then I just got retracked back into my introverted self. And now I'm doing good though. But
Yeah.
I think we should get into the questions here. And just yeah, so let's start off with the first one. What is your journey? And I just say, like, basically what gets you up out of the bed in the morning? What do you think is what is the meaning you have put on existence for yourself, if any at
Hmm.
all?
Um, I like shared experiences. So I'm not one for like, needing a lot of things. I really like to travel. I like to meet people. I know I just said like I'm kind of an introvert now. Um, but I do enjoy I guess making people like laugh and smile because life can kind of suck sometimes. And that's something that my grandpa kind of instilled in me. It was just like, making people making the world a better place by being like not a shitty person because there's a lot of shitty
Right.
people. If we all like just were kind to each other, the world would be great. So I like to kind of spread that kindness a little bit. That makes me feel good, is making other people feel happy. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I like pretty much, we're on episode 4 right now, and pretty much a lot of the comedians have said pretty similar things as far as like, yeah, and I just, well, like, do you think there's that expands to other things besides comedy? Like, I guess what's another like outlet for that meaning of life for you?
Um, well, I mean, a lot of people asked me during quarantine, like if I miss stand-up comedy, and I was like, honestly, no. Like, I think I was one of the few comics who wasn't like, I miss it. I mean, there's things I missed, but I didn't miss the like grind and the hustle and like I don't know having to be on all the time, and I didn't miss any of that. But I did miss just making people laugh. So,
Yeah.
so it's just like talking on the phone with people, video chat, like doing weird like being alone, so doing like voices for my dog and like weird characters, just kind of like losing my mind a little bit but making people laugh because of it. I'm just like, oh, you don't really necessarily need a stage. You can make people laugh in everyday conversation. You can make people at work who are like fuck like stressed out at their job, like just being a kind person to them and make them like chill out a little bit. No, so it doesn't have to be stand up, but I guess just like uh being like joyful or being goofy or looking stupid like helps relieve like the tension in a situation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think like because of for me, I guess I kind of got that because I would see comics, and I guess because I'm a one-liner comic, I would see people like Stephen Wright or something when I was in a really bad mood, and even though none of their jokes had anything to do with what I was going through, it just relieved a lot of tension to know that you didn't have to look at life so seriously.
Yeah, yeah,
And
Mitch Hedberg is one of my favorite like, goofy one-liner comics.
that's the one I get compared to the most, but I think it's just because I'm high.
Maybe.
But I mean, I'm a huge fan of Mitch Hedberg. But like, I don't know, that's a that's a tough call. Mitch Hedberg or Stephen Wright is a tough call for me.
True, they're very different style. One's very dry and deadpan, one's like a little like all right, like a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
more.
Well, I like
I don't
how Mitch Hedberg just acknowledges everything. He doesn't like on a special, he'll just be like looking at his notes and he goes, T-ski, what the fuck is a T-ski? Oh yeah, that's right. I want to take I want to get a bunch of tea bags and put them into a lake for like a week, and then I'm gonna ski. He's like, I don't know what the fuck that was, and like just, and it's like that's on his special. Like he obviously just wrote that backstage, like going, whatever, we'll see if this sticks. And it's
Yep. Oh, I
like
loved it too. He'll admit if a joke bombs in the moment and be like, "Oh man, I gotta do better than that." Like,
yeah, yeah. Or
it's kind of like,
I like his one where he goes, he's like, I want to have a suitcase handcuffed to my wrist. I don't know what the fuck that was. That is not a joke yet. That's just a. He's like, that's just a sentence. And it's like that kind of stuff. That's what I love Mitch Hedberg for. Is just and probably what I get most from him is just acknowledging your thought process on stage. A lot of people like really seem to like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I think with any one-liner, those are the people to me that just seemed the goofiest, where I was like, oh, I don't have to, be depressed and look at, take life so seriously. You can, I don't know. It opened a door for me that made me want to open that for others. I feel like. What comedians were like that for you?
I think there's comedy. Well, I think there's comedy that makes you like kind of escape reality and it's kind of silly and doesn't have to be serious. And there's comedy that like really shines a light on, some darker stuff, some bullshit, very different. And I love both styles of comedy. I think in general, my like first comedic influence was Lucille Ball, because I grew up sheltered and religious and homeschooled, but we could watch I Love Lucy. And she to me was just like so like out there and wacky, especially for the times. Being a woman and being like the lead role and looking ridiculous and, fighting for her husband to be on it. So the first interracial couple ever on television and the first pregnancy ever on television. So she like broke a lot of walls down for women and just for television in general. But one thing I really loved about her is how she didn't really like to be like glamorous. She didn't feel pretty when she was like all dolled up and like had to look like a movie star. She felt her most comfortable and confident when she was like dressed up in ridiculous characters and outfits, sometimes dressed up as like male characters. And I just loved that. I thought that was like so freeing and liberating. And I was just like, man, I want to make people laugh like slapstick and like characters, voices, all of the shit, mannerisms. She was like a comedy genius for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think people like that are, definitely big in just when the people break stereotypes in a goofy way, it definitely relieves people of the I guess obligations that they felt on themselves before. And I mean, I guess I never watched much I Love Lucy. I'm 23 years old. I don't know nothing. But it's definitely, I don't know. Like the first comedy I saw was Larry the Cable Guy. And even though I'm not like a huge fan of it now, I fucking loved it when I was like 12 years old. And like that like really got me into comedy. And I just like listened to Larry the Cable Guy on Pandora and like, Jeff Foxworthy and them. And then it's like, on Pandora is a good way to listen to discover comedy because you get to hear all kinds of different people, and then you go, oh, I like that guy, and listen to his radio, But that's my first comedy experience was not breaking down any walls of any kind.
Unless it was Larry the Cable Guy, I like, oh shoot, y'all, and like broke a wall, literally.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to the next question here.
Hey dude, have you finished that video yet?
Yeah, I'm working on the video right now.
Hey dude, the Zoom call is at 6 p.m.
At 6? Yeah, that should be fine. I can make that work.
Hey dude, the Zoom call actually got pushed to right now. Hurry up.
What? When did that happen?
Hey dude, I just got your video. Great fucking job.
Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate that.
Hey dude, I'm actually gonna need you to make a couple changes to that video.
What? You just said it was fine.
I know what I said, dude. But the powers that be asked for some changes.
The powers that be? You're the boss. You're the powers that be.
Redo the video. Just redo the entire thing.
Mother! Is your boss a pain in the ass? While you can't always choose your employer, you can choose how you handle stressful situations. Try Elevate. It protects your brain so you can remain focused, and it helps you to relieve stress. That way, you can handle the most difficult tasks and the most difficult people. If work has you stressed out, try Elevate. I feel a lot better. Mother! And use code PLC at checkout to get 15% off all products.
'Cause, yeah, I don't know. I have a really bad habit of spending way too long on these questions. But so what inspired your journey? Like you said, make people laugh, be like kind of what you want to, I guess it was to make people happy, make people laugh, be kind of a light in the darkness of the day. What inspired that for you?
Probably growing up reading comic books. I feel like even you just saying that, I was like, yeah, like wanting to be like a superhero in some fashion when I was little. But also, I because I loved Lucy and because of my, I was the second to youngest child, so I kind of just did whatever my siblings told me to do. So my oldest sister would like have me do like prank phone calls, and they would dress me in crazy outfits and have me like walk around the neighborhood and like just do wacky shit, like whatever they wanted me to do to make them laugh. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like I was just like the stupid actor in whatever play she put me in. But I like loved making people laugh, and I didn't care if I looked ridiculous. So, and my grandpa has a great sense of humor. He's definitely someone that inspired my journey and who I am. He's the kind of person that will go to the store and make the cashier laugh, like just says random goofy shit. He's the funniest person I've ever fucking met. And like so casual about it. That's just like who he is. So I always like really admired that. And yeah, I just thought, I like making people laugh. I was gonna go to Evergreen to do pottery and sign language and go to like a hippie school and do that. And then at the last minute, I remember that me and my first boyfriend had talked about moving to Chicago so he could do film school and I could like go to Second City and try comedy. But he was too scared to move to a different place and try new things. And I was like, well, fuck. I mean, we're not together. I can just go alone. I moved to Chicago, like kind of on a whim. I was able to transfer my job and got into Second City and like it all lined up. And so I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm doing this. Universe pulled me in this direction instead. So I did that. Fuck it.
Nice. Yeah, I do like how you said comic books inspired you a little bit because comic books, yeah, I mean, I read comic books and really into a lot of superheroes, and I don't know, comedy, like, and you said earlier, like, part of the thing that you didn't miss when you went into quarantine was the struggle and the, I guess, or the, just the trying to make it to the next step and constantly having this responsibility on your back. I love that part. I love the having good sets and then like feeling like I need to keep it up. I love having bad sets and feeling like I need to redeem myself. I love trying to get better. Like, and comic books really, like when I came back to comedy, I watched the animated Dark Knight Returns movie and just where he's coming out of retirement. And that, man, I have to watch that movie like anytime I come back to anything. Or like just I love reading Spider-Man books where he's like trying to balance his normal life with his alter ego, and I feel like that sometimes doing comedy where I'm trying to balance my work life and my personal life, but I got these comedy obligations at night. And I really relate to comic books when I in I don't know, pretty much in any hardship in my life. That's what I think about.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like this almost feels like that being in retirement from comedy, and I'm kind of like training up the other aspects of my life I neglected, just like mental health, seeing a therapist, physical health, like doing yoga, exercising, like cutting back on drinking because I'm not in the industry, I'm not at bars every night, just trying to be like, all right, bitch, maybe you should like work on yourself so then you can like make a comeback when everything comes back and not feel so like at the whim of whatever's going on around me, being able to like be in control of myself and not, need to drink to feel comfortable or social or whatever, like to be able to really just like handle myself so I can come back kind of a badass. And I do have a joke too it's an older joke about when I was working in Chicago. I was working at Goose Island. I was a server by day and drunk Canadian by night, which is like being the most fun, but the most disappointing superhero ever. It's like, that was, I lived my life. It was just like, fuck, this job sucks. And then at night, just getting wasted and being like, this job's awesome. And then just like repeat over and over and over again. It was like alter ego. I don't know. So the comic book thing is always part of me too.
Nice. And, oh man, I'm trying to remember. I was gonna acknowledge something else you said. I can't remember it. But Yeah, no, I also feel like with quarantine, it's kind of funny because it was kind of like the snap in Infinity War where you get to see, I don't know if how much of other comics you've seen after all this, but it's funny. You get to see like, oh, these people are still trying and still going at it. Oh, this guy developed a whole new life. He's looking good. Oh, that guy's definitely Fat Thor. That guy is the Fat Thor of comedians. And he's having a real rough time, and I can tell. Like I don't know. I've had a lot of contact with other comedians, and it's fun seeing how this has affected them.
That's true. I didn't think about the Infinity Snap, but that's definitely.
What hero do you think you are in the Infinity Snap?
I think I'm one of the ones that just turned to ash.
Oh yeah, just completely died.
Like, is she okay? I miss her. What's she doing? And then I'll just show up later and be like, "Hey guys,
Yeah,
that was nuts, right?"
Yeah, I do think it's interesting what you said that you're kind of working on yourself and waiting to come back, because that's exactly what I was doing. But then what happened was I had qualified for this competition before COVID. And then COVID happened, and I assumed it was canceled. And then they let me know like a few weeks ago. They were like, hey, the finals for this competition is still going on, and you're in it. And then I was like, all right, I guess I'll hit a couple mics and come back to it. And honestly, getting back to it I think sped up my progress in working on myself. Just having something to do again really helped. And or just having a task and having a goal. Like I remember my first day back at work, I was just like, oh my God, I have a goal. I have a task. Something needs to get done, and I'm doing it. And it's like, because the last the 3 months before that was completely nothing, no tasks whatsoever, except putting food in my mouth and sleeping.
Yeah, and I definitely I didn't, all right, quarantine, I'm gonna get my life together. Like I definitely was in a relationship where we just drank and did drugs and lived that life like Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, where we were just dead to the world and fucked up all the time, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Nice. And then when I had to go back to work at the bar, I was waking up from a dream, out of a cloud, oh, I need to go back to reality now. And that was weird. Right. I got sick, and I was like, well, right back to square one. Fuck. And now, that I'm in a different apartment and not in that relationship or working in that toxic environment, I'm like, okay, now's my comeback, I guess. I don't know. Now is when I take this shit seriously, because part of me is almost worried about life going back to normal. I know that sounds weird, but I'm just I'm kind of liking whatever's happening right now, and I guess I can take the good things from it. But I don't know. I just I had this weird fear one day where I was oh, what if everything goes back to normal?
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. I don't know. My thing with just weed and alcohol during COVID was I kind of got tired of alcohol, and just because I just drink it so much, I got burnt out on it. I didn't like it anymore. But then weed, I don't know, I was getting super, this isn't normal for me at all, but I was getting super paranoid on weed. It was the first time ever I felt paranoid on weed, which is completely bonkers for me, because usually I'm just doing insane amounts of it and not feeling anything. But I was doing very little of that. But the hardest one for me was food. I was like, okay, the world can end. I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy a cheeseburger next week. Let's get some tasty food. I don't know how often I'm going to be able to have this luxury. If the economy crashes, I might be down to beans and rice. I want to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, toilet paper, that was a thing. Me and my friend were talking about doing a COVID board game. And it'd be toilet paper's currency and shit like that. We might make that come together, but I was just oh man, that'd be hilarious.
Fortunately in Bend, we didn't have to worry about toilet paper. Grocery stores weren't normal. They were pretty empty, but it's not like you couldn't not get anything. But I have friends that were in cities and sounded pretty horrifying.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like everyone in Bend is so fancy they have like a bidet or something. There's a lot of nice houses out there. Maybe they don't
I don't
do
know.
it.
We've seen a lot of people freaking out. There was some. It's just I don't think we have the volume. I think we have more grocery stores per capita than you guys
Probably.
probably. I think,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. Let's jump on to the next question here. Okay, so we talked about what inspired your journey. You talked about, or yeah, what you talked about. Your grandpa and whatnot, and just wanting to be funny. And we talked about Lucille Ball. But how did you start? Like, so you got inspired, and then what was the very first step you took where you were like, "Yep, I'm doing comedy," or "Yep, this is what my meaning in life is," and I'm gonna start, making something of it.
I think it was when I went to Second City the first time I visited there. I just felt like, wow, this is cool. Like people just get to be silly. Like, they take classes and there's, shows, and some people like actually have a job doing it. And comedy is so flooded in Chicago, it's like really difficult to actually make that your career. But just the idea that there was like a place of learning for comedy. And so many of my idols went there, like Tina Fey. There's posters of her everywhere. And like pretty much everyone from SNL has gone to Second City or is from Chicago. I'd say like 90% of the people on that show, always, like in general. And then I don't know, it just felt like something that made more sense than staying in Washington and doing pottery and sign language, even though part of me was like, oh, that was fun. And maybe I'll like get back into that. I have the time now to do it, but I don't know. It just felt like it was comfortable. And when I was in improv class, that was like my first experience to being on stage, and being silly. And that was so fun because you have all those people there to like have your back. And it's like, you make an ass of yourself in front of these people. It's like, we're friends now, right? Like we did the thing, we're cool. So
Yeah.
just like making friends that way. Like we're done pretending we're not idiots. Awesome. It's like the fastest way to make friends is just, do improv or do something silly together or something scary. That's like how you let those walls down. So yeah, I don't know. I just felt like that was something I wanted to do in some capacity, whether it's writing or improv. And stand up was a lot scarier because that's just, you in a room. But that was also like a challenge that I wanted to like overcome my fear of that.
Right. It's interesting that you say being like in an improv group and being silly around people, like kind of you get to drop the bullshit a little, which is interesting because I feel like my comedian friends, I'm closer to them than my other friends, but in a different way. It's not like, I mean, I'm closer to my other friends and like, I don't know, like it's hard to describe, but there is something about like, oh, I've bombed in front of you before. I don't have to pretend like I'm something I'm not,
Yeah.
And you get to just kind of talk to people like, I don't know, comedian conversations, like conversations with other comedians at any level is something that it's like a breath of fresh air. It's something that I need every now and then, just because it's so different than like, I don't know, other conversations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can talk about heavy stuff, but it's in a jokey way. So, I mean, you have your real friends to talk about real life in a lot of those fashions. But I mean, yeah, you kind of don't have to be like, so how are you doing? Or you just fucking around. You're just, yeah, it's just like,
Yeah. It's and yeah, it's, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I would highly suggest anybody just go to some open mics and talk to comedians. It's a fun time. It's one of the biggest parts I missed about it was just being in the scene. I love it. It's a good time. But so you started at Second City Theater. I have a couple friends that just made the move to Chicago because they wanted something harder. They didn't want it to come as easily as it does in Bend. They wanted it, they wanted to really like work for something. And, I guess how many open mics or like how long were you doing? Did you do comedy at all before moving to Chicago?
My first two open mics were in Portland, the Brody Theater, which is now the Kickstand Theater.
I was there like right before it closed. I got to go to one open mic there, it's a neat spot.
Yeah. I went once and I bombed. And my boyfriend at the time, the one that I was going to move with, but then we broke up, obviously. But he was just like, did you think you were going to like crush it the first time? I'm like, well, duh. I didn't think I was going to fucking bomb. Like, why would I do this if I thought it was going to be awful? And then 6 months later, when I was like, all right, I'm going to move to Chicago, I did it again. And I just felt more like comfortable. I had more people in the audience I knew, and they weren't the only ones laughing.
Yeah.
But it just like took that fear out of it. Like the first time, just get that like horrible bomb out of the way. And then the second time, like I actually thought about it a little more and felt more comfortable. And I also had this like feeling of, even if I do bomb, fuck it, I'm moving to Chicago in like a few days. So the stakes to me weren't as high, I guess. The first time it was like, I got to be really good, and then I sucked. And the second time I was, who gives a shit? And then it was great. So I think that's like a really weird mind thing I've had to learn, is like the audience can tell and like almost smell when you want them to like you and they don't fucking like you. But of course you want them to like you, but you have to go up there with the attitude of like, I don't really care if you like me or not. I'm doing this because I'm having fun. And then it's like contagious and they love you. So you don't want to be like, I don't give a fuck what you think, but kind of, it's strange. It's like you do kind of have to not really care what they think, even though they're the ones that kind of hold your fate.
Right. It's an interesting thing because you hear so many non-comedians go like, oh man, I love this guy because he just doesn't care. And it's like, well, he does care a little bit because he has to. It's like if he didn't, he wouldn't want to be funny. It's like I feel like the biggest art of it is caring deeply, but not letting them see that. And
yeah.
And I don't know. So you feel like you perform better like with stakes or without, or do you think it's a mix of both?
I don't think I do that well under pressure. I think that for me, I mean, I can kind of pull things together last minute. I'm good at procrastinating. But I feel like even if the stakes are high, if I don't treat it that way, I'm fine. So if like like the Portland's Funniest Person, whenever I've done well, it's because I've gone out there being like, these are my jokes. These are funny. I'm just going to have a fucking blast and get a good tape out of it. And then I advance the next level. Fucking awesome. And then when I get to that second level, I'm like, okay, I really want to make it to the finals, but like, you can do this. It's totally fine. And like, just do what you did last time. Everyone loves you. And I go out there and it's fucking awful. Or I forget a joke and it's just like, God damn it. So it's like, it really has to be, whether the stakes are high or not, just has to be more about having fun than it is about trying to impress everybody. Cause that's where I eat shit, is when I want people to like me or I want to do well. It's like, I'll just shoot myself in the foot.
Yeah, I've had, it's kind of both. Because yes, a lot of times when I'm just like, I just want to have fun. Like, and usually with competitions, I just treat it like this is just a set and I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. I don't care about winning. And those are usually competitions I do best in. But there are times where I'm just like, well, I'm going to go up there and do what I do. I'm going to have fun. But something happens that puts a little fire in my belly where it's like, oh, I gotta kill tonight. And sometimes if I'm already relaxed before that happens, I can do really well. Like I remember I was performing in the Tower Theater. I got to open for Preacher Lawson, and that's our biggest theater in Bend. And I had never heard of Preacher Lawson, but I knew he was like big. Like I read up about him before I went. But I just remember in the green room, I told him a joke and he goes, are you telling me a joke in the green room? He goes, how long have you been doing comedy? That's such a noob thing to do. And I was like, a year and a half. And he's like, a year and a half? You don't get to go up there and do 20 minutes. I was like, I do 20 minutes all the time. And he's like blasting me on his Instagram story going, oh, this guy must be the next Dave Chappelle, thinks he could do 20 minutes in a year and a half. And I was like, I do 20 minutes like 3 times a week, or I was then. And I was like, it's no problem. And that just put fire in my belly. Like I was like, this is my first time at a theater. I already felt some pressure, but I was already just kind of relaxed. And then when that happened, I was like, oh, you'll see. And I ended up doing well. It was a good time. But like, yeah, sometimes when that pressure can make me do better, but not all the time. And I feel like it's just how I treat the pressure in my own head.
Yeah. I've had, because I mean, I have had dudes basically just like treat me differently because I'm a woman, or try and be like, oh, all right, whatever, like you want to try comedy, that's cool. And those motherfuckers, I always am funnier than they are, because that is that fire that I'm just like, oh yeah, bitch. So I
Yeah,
think that when
yeah,
people
yeah.
like don't believe in you and are a dick about it, I think that is like, that to me is more, that's more helpful than someone being like, you're the funniest person I know, you're gonna kill it. I'm just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like I don't know
Oh
why
yeah, I
that
know. What?
you
Yeah.
want to do well. But yeah, I was on a show in Bend actually, and the headliner like did some fucking condescending shit where he was just like, "Oh yeah, good luck out there, kid," and he tapped me on the head, which is like, don't fucking touch me with your old man hands, or
Ah,
anyone ever
damn.
touch me. And like the pat on the head is like, the fuck away from me. So I
Yeah.
was the feature there, and that was the night that was like the bachelorette party, and I got them all rowdy, and they fucking loved me, and I crushed it, and I got off stage, and I went up to him, and I was like, "Good luck out there, kid," and he bombed, and I was just like, ah, it was amazing.
I've always had good experiences like with people I've opened for. That the preacher last one was the only one where I was little, and he wasn't mean or rude. He was just like he was
Fucking
it was just like, I mean, if I was in his position, I wouldn't trust that I could do 20 minutes either. So I got it, but I was just like, yeah, whatever. But I do get a lot of that condescending stuff, like, oh, you've only been doing comedy 2 years, and it's like, yeah, but whatever. Watch this. And
Yeah.
but no, one of my favorite ones was similar to the story you told, was yeah, I got the like good luck, and then I went out there, and then I did bomb, which was the worst part, is I bombed, and then the person goes on and she goes, man, all right, let's bring up the energy after that last guy, and then she bombed harder than me.
Oh my god.
And that was it. That felt really nice. I was like, good. I didn't have to do well for that to be fun. But yeah, let's move on to the next question here. So, wait, I think we already did this question.
The obstacles question, yeah, is next.
Oh, this one says, I'm seeing how did you start your journey, which was the last question. You had
Yeah.
Are you seeing the
Yeah,
obstacles
that's
one?
No, I just have my notes up.
Oh, okay, here we go. What are some notable obstacles in your journey, and how did you overcome them? Or, what are some obstacles in your journey that you're still trying to overcome?
Kind of goes hand in hand with what I was talking about with like being a woman in comedy. And when I started in Chicago in 2012, there was like maybe 4 or 5 women that got booked, and they were like the only ones. And there wasn't that many. But even then there was like a weird competition between women to being like the funny woman. Like it wasn't like women are funny. It's like, no, not really, but like we're the cool ones, so we're the ones that get booked. It was very strange and gross. And so that was like something that I didn't think would be an issue. I guess I was just naive. I was like, yeah, it's comedy. You just fuck around and make people laugh. But I was definitely, especially in the beginning, like a lot of people smoke break comic, and a lot of dudes would hit on me. And then I'd be like, yeah, I'd already went up. They're like, oh, you're a comic? And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, I thought I was just like watching them. And I'm like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're not even funny. And they just thought I was like a chuckle. Yes. And I was like, no, you like leave when I go on stage. I hate you.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to think about 2012 because, I mean, what was I in 2012? I think I was like 15. And so it's weird. I didn't know nothing about the culture back then. But did you have to deal with a lot of the like, all right, now we have a lady coming on? Was that still pretty popular back then? Oh, damn.
Yeah, between any host, whether it was a male or female host, like whoever was the host would be like, all right, next up we have our first woman of the night. And then you like hear people leave and you're like, what the fuck? It's just like, yeah, there was not a lot of respect unless it was like, the top 5 women that were already getting booked. And yeah, so that to me was frustrating. There was a few people that obviously saw past that, and it became more integrated with women as it went on. And I think a lot of my approach in the beginning was like, I just want to be funny. And then at the end I was like, well, now I'm like this fucking angry feminist, and I didn't want to be, but like, fuck all you guys, suck my dick. That became like my tagline, just telling people.
Did because I mean, obviously time has progressed a little bit, things aren't perfectly, PC, but it's like, I feel like things are a little bit better than they were in 2012. But do you feel like you yourself had to do something to overcome that? Like, did you in your head, like, I mean, you kind of said, I had to flip the switch and say, I didn't want to be a feminist, but I have to now. But like, what I guess in your head changed or helped that?
For me, I was just friendly to every female comic I saw, especially new ones. I wanted them to be there because I wanted the numbers to change. I wanted just all of it to shift to where it was normal. And a lot of them were like, you were the first friend I made. And I was like, no one was fucking nice to me. If it was like a gross dude trying to bang, or it was like a woman that was nice in passing. But if I was ever trying to be nice, it's like she was nice on the surface, but we never really like hung out. They were part of the boys club still. And it would just, there wasn't like women uplifting women. All of it was just kind of like negative. Like, you shouldn't be here unless you're funny or you're hot or whatever. And so I just made I would show up early at open mics and I would be like, hey, are you new? And I would talk to them and get to know them and then just kind of develop friendships in the comedy scene with women. And then from that, I just noticed that there was more women out, more women were running open mics. It just kind of changed a little bit to where like women were there. They were present. You had to acknowledge it. And if there was a mic that was all dudes and it was gross, either women wouldn't go there or we would like come in groups and they would either all go fucking, some mics, this would piss me off. They would curate the list and they would purposely put like if 5 women came to like a broy dude mic, they would put all the women in a group of 5. So then a bunch of dudes would just go fuck off outside for like 20 minutes. And then come back in and be like, oh, go back to comedy. And I was just like, fuck you. And I totally brought it up a few times where I was just like, this is horseshit, right? Like, I see what you're doing. I'm not fucking stupid. And I think just like not being because I was like such a tomboy before all this. So I thought I was like, I'm friends with dudes. I don't need to be a feminist. They're all my friends are dudes. And now I'm just like, you know what? I'm not afraid to tell you you're a piece of shit. And like, why are you treating me any differently? And so I think just like, I don't know, telling dudes to suck your dick is very empowering if you're a woman.
I mean, it's interesting because I've done some open mics in Portland and it's interesting how the list, there's so much politics in the list. In Bend, it's like the list is just on a table and you just write your name wherever you want and you just go up when they call you. I don't know. Like it's crazy how cliquey and political it gets in other towns. But like, I don't know. And I feel a little guilty myself of kind of gravitating towards whoever's funny. Like if I just like, I don't know, because I try to be social in the scene, but it's like if they just like first started and I just like haven't gotten to know their sense of humor yet, it's hard for me to naturally gravitate towards them and be like, hey man, welcome to the scene. I'm probably the worst at that. Like I just go and talk to my friends. And I mean, it's not like I don't do anything that's non-inclusive or whatever, but I feel like my mom at church when I go to open mics. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I got to see my friends, and then I got to, if I had a little kid waiting to go home, they'd be so like be rolling their eyes every time. Like, oh, I have to say one more goodbye to somebody. Like, I don't know. That's how I am, but I don't know. It's cool. It's cool seeing people that are so welcoming to new comedians, though.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't welcoming to all new comedians. If it was a straight white dude, I'd have to hear his jokes first.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of times I'd be like, oh, hey, dude, are you new? And he'd be like, yeah, I'm new to comedy. And it was just like rape joke, racism, sexism, I'm homophobia. I'm like, you shouldn't come back, probably.
And then end the audience with, oh, whatever. You guys just can't handle me. That shit's funny.
Yeah. It's just edgy. You're not ready to hear it. It's like, no, we've heard it like 5 other comics ago. Fuck off. Like, it's not interesting. It's just not even a joke. You're just angry.
Yeah. Well, and in Bend, there's so few comedians. I kind of have respect, a little bit of respect, at least, for anybody who does go on mic, because I run into so many people who are like, "Oh, you do comedy? I'm thinking of doing comedy. Here's this stuff I'm thinking of doing. How hilarious!" And then they go, "But I don't know if they'll be able to handle me. I don't know." And it's like, and they just, and I'm like, the only thing I tell them is, "Do it. Come on." Go sign up. It's on Tuesday. Sign up and do it. Show it, like, see how it is. If it doesn't work out, adjust it and make it work. But like the people who are like, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking of doing comedy and here, blah, blah, blah. I'm hilarious." Like, people don't realize, and you're just like, make us realize, like, come do it. Like, so usually when anybody's doing on the mic at all, even if they suck, I'm still just like, at least they're doing it, you know?
Yeah, and there's still a sick little twisted part of me sometimes where I'm like, "Oh, this guy's going up. This shit is awful."
Oh yeah,
Or
yeah. Oh no, trust me, there are definitely people who I'm just like, I do not want. I don't know. There are people that make me just like, the stage is not for you, even though it's an open mic. I'm just like, this is not where you belong, and that's I never say anything to those people, but man, still, they're yeah, you can't. I don't know how you would, but
you can if you're a host. If they're that bad and you're hosting the damn room, you can be like,
oh no,
right, well,
no. When I'm hosting, I throw all my material out the window. I just roast people based on what they. I think one person went off, and I went, "All right, guys, that was so-and-so, living proof that literally anybody is allowed to sign up for this."
Yep, it's good to be able to do that because as a host, which I do love hosting, that's probably one of my favorite things. And I think that's what got me out of that whole, like, oh, that fucking boys club shit, was like seeing other people host that were welcoming or funny or diverse, rooms and shit like that. It's for me to have that like control of like, all right, this is my room. I control the energy. I'm going to make it fun. And if some asshole comes up here and shits all over the room or the bar or all the comics, like, I'm going to fucking shit on you back. And it's going to bring the laughter back. And then the next comic doesn't come up to like a room that's just like uncomfortably silent. And I'm just like, oh God, that guy was awful. Like, you have to be the palate cleanser when you're the host and be like, okie doke.
Yeah, it's interesting how you have to. Yeah, I mean, hosting is one of those things where it's like, I like hosting open mics when it's around comics, but I really suck at hosting shows with audiences, and that's kind of my coming back to comedy resolution, is to host more, because it's something I really want to get good at. But I don't know, because you do have to kind of balance the trust the audience has in the next act. And sometimes I don't know, sometimes I'm not capable of making the host not seem like the intermission, Like, yeah. I feel like I can start it off okay, but by the end, people are just like, "Oh, this is the guy that we go to the bathroom and finish our conversation during." And you go, and then our next comic, and then they all start paying attention. You're just like, well, the show's going well, I guess, as a whole, but yeah, no, that's something I've always wanted to get better at.
It's definitely different between hosting when it's just comics, because you can be a lot more mean. You can do a lot more like roast stuff, because like, yeah, we're all fucking around with each other. But if it just becomes like a circle jerk, of just like comedians and there's real people there, they're like, haha, I don't know any of these jokes that are references to your friendship you all have together. This is interesting. And they're like, why am I here? But being a good host in front of an audience is so important, because I've done shows where the host is just like rip your skin off bad, and then you just go on stage. Or when they say your name first and then give you an intro, they're like, Amanda Lynn Deal is the next comic. She's been traveling around and doing comedy, but she's a comic. Here she is. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, you got to say the name last.
Oh, I know. That bothers me so much. And I don't know, like, it's hosting is definitely an interesting thing. And there's nothing worse than a bad host. I hate it when a host is trying to put out their magnum opus and it's bombing, and they're like, oh, I need to get a laugh before I bring on the next comic. So they just keep bombing and bombing and bombing. And you're just like, oh God, well, I guess It's like, I got to turn this around and be the hero of the show when I come on, or else, this whole thing's going to go bad.
And then you're like, do I roast the host that booked me on this show, or do I just pretend that didn't happen and tell my jokes?
Yeah. But, all right. So let's move on to the next question here. So, we talked about where you started. We talked about, your inspiration. I would say, where are you now? We touched on that a little bit in COVID and whatnot. But let's say you had to talk to yourself right when you decided to take that first step to Chicago. What would you say to be comforting to that person? If you got to talk to them, got to talk to yourself in the past, moving to Chicago, where would you say you are now in the most balanced way?
I would remind myself to have fun. And if there's not a space for you, make your own space. Because I think that's a really important thing. If you don't feel welcome, but whatever art form it is, if you really enjoy doing it and the people that are in charge of it aren't making you feel welcome or aren't doing it the way you'd like to do, like, make your own space. And if people like it, then fuck yeah. And if no one likes it, then maybe it's not for you. Maybe that's not your thing, or maybe it's not that performance side. Maybe it's more like writing or things that are more like solo anyways, that don't include performance in some manner, because I think that's really important to, that's why I got into hosting, basically, was I would watch host the open mics and I would think of all the things they did that pissed me the fuck off. And I was like, well, I can sit here and complain and not be part of this, or I can try it myself. And if I'm any good, people will come to my mic and they'll like it and it'll be fun. It'll be different. It'll be like refreshing to be here. Not like, oh, fuck, it's not like long open mic with the shitty host and the same people. And they always give their friends special treatment and, like whatever. Yeah, I never go up early, even though I get here early, like shit like that. And they don't even wrangle in like people who are talking. It's just, if all that shit bothers you and you see that happening, like, well, to make your own space. I think that's important to give it a shot before you give up.
Right. And well, I mean, it seems like, you've acquired a lot of wisdom in the ways that, you need to, I guess, go about comedy. But like, I guess if you were to say to your old self, or like, I guess, hey, keep doing what you're doing because right now I am blank. How would you finish that sentence?
Right now, I am comfortable. I guess that's a good word to say it. And not comfortable as in like I don't have ambitions or things that I want, but I think I came into it with so much like fear and anxiety just from like stage fright and like, do people like me? And am I even going to be good at this? And now it's like, I'm comfortable. Like, I have friends inside the comedy scene. My friends outside the comedy scene like love and respect my comedy and come see me, and that's fucking cool. I didn't, they're not even just being nice, they actually do enjoy it. But I've also made friends because I did comedy. Like, I've made friends with audience members because of that.
Right.
Because connecting with people. So it's like, hey, I'm comfortable. And that's, I think, something that that's what people like when they say like, oh, that comic seems like they don't give a fuck, that's why I like them. I think it's like they're just comfortable with themselves. And how many of us just walk around life like so nervous about what everyone thinks. So to like see someone just be comfortable with themselves, it's like very inspiring. So to just be like, hey, relax, like where I am now, like I'm comfortable. And if I would have, been comfortable earlier on and wasn't, drinking for the stage fright and to be social, and I was a little more focused and I was comfortable the whole time, I'd be way the fuck farther in my career. But that's fine, because now I feel like I earned it in a way. It wasn't like given to me. I didn't just like slip on a banana peel and become famous. Like, it was a struggle, but now I'm like, I'm comfortable. And I think that is like a good life skill, to like fuck up a lot. And what is stand-up comedy except fucking up a lot? And then eventually you get comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably would be a very motivating thing to hear, because I think a lot of us are just That's what we're striving for, is comfort more than anything. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would honestly like to talk more about this, but we should probably move on to the last question before we run out of time here. But so who is somebody you're grateful for being in your journey now? Because we had to squeeze you in because of a dropout. You didn't get our next episode was set. Rochelle Cochran had picked this person, but because we have you on, if you know anything nice to say about her, or maybe something that you admire about her or are jealous of in her act or in her personality, what do you have to say about Lucy Tollefson?
So she's someone I met in Portland, and she's actually headlined my show in Vancouver and stayed with me on my couch when she was here and took the bus back up. She's like a very no bullshit person, and I admire that about her. Like, she's comfortable with herself. She likes sports. She's like, you know, a Midwestern gal that lives in Seattle, but she also is good about, like, I think she does kind of walk that line of, like, she's a female comic and she's hilarious and relatable, but she is into, like, you know, sports and can be like, you know, one of the dudes, but not in a way where it's like, she's like, oh, well, you know, I'm not friends with women, I'm only friends with men. I think she does a really good job of being like a well-rounded person and performer, and she's good at like calling people out on their bullshit. So I respect that coming from Chicago. Maybe it's just that Midwestern thing. When I moved to Chicago, everyone there called me Portland. They're like, oh, you're such like a sweet hippie girl, like you're so Portland.
Yeah.
And then I moved here to Portland, everyone was like, okay, Chicago. Because I'm just like, suck my dick, fuck you, dude. I was just like super intense. So I was just like, I am wherever I'm not. That's, I don't know, but I think
it's funny how when you go to Chicago, they go, oh, you're the Portland girl, you're hippie. When I go to Portland, they're like, oh, you're the Bend guy, you must be naive. It's like, yeah,
put those stereotypes on you. But I was definitely that like little hippie chick when I first moved there. Now I don't know, maybe I'm the blend of like, I look like I'm from Portland, but I talk like I'm from Chicago. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm a melting
So Lucy is mostly like a Seattle comic, right? Is that her stomping grounds? Okay.
Yeah, that's where she's living. That's where she does shows and stuff. But I know that she's like from the Midwest. She's like a Packers fan, all Wisconsin. Which, she reminds me of my roommate I had in Chicago too. So I think I just have like a soft spot for her. I'm just like, yeah, you're like that nice blend too of like Pacific Northwest, Midwest. I kind of dig that. I get that a lot. So
nice. Well, I'm excited because she is our season finale. So we get to talk to her about all that. So yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, and thank you so much for coming on. It was because we did have you on a little bit of a short notice. But yeah, no, I love doing this show because I get to meet all the people who influence other comics, and it ends up that I get to be talking to all the names that I just see so often on posters or like on social media or whatever. And then, so yeah, no, you're somebody that I've seen your name a lot, but I haven't gotten to meet you yet. So yeah, it was great talking to you. And yeah, it was, I think, a good episode. So, you got me excited for Lucy. So yeah, thanks for coming on.
Fun.
I'm awful at ending these episodes. But do you have anything else? Do you want to just give your plugs, your Instagram handles and whatnot again?
Sure. I also wanted to thank you for having me because this was really fun. And I don't think I realized I missed comedy as much until I started talking about it. So I'm ready for my comeback whenever the fuck that happens. But I will be doing more, probably just dumb, goofy shit since I'm alone a lot. But so, you know, Instagram for that, I guess, or I don't know, TikTok if the kids use that. I feel so stupid on that. I'm just like, what is this, dogs and dancing? So maybe not TikTok, but all the other platforms. And I will be doing a couple of radio shows. I'll be talking on there. So if you think I have interesting things to say, or I'm funny, or I'm obnoxious, it doesn't fucking matter. You can tune in. So you can follow me on all the social medias at Amanda Lynn Deal. So just my full name. I'm on there. I'm out here.
Awesome.
I'm in here.
Well, check her out, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Journey and Wander. This was episode 4. Next week, we have Lucy Tollefson. Thank you, everybody. Please support the journey. We're on Venmo at BL Comedy, and we are on Cash App at $Big Laugh Comedy. All the proceeds go to comedians and production crew. Keep us alive, keep us going, keep the journey going, keep wandering. Thank you, guys.